Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new DMX album, Exodus. The original Rough Rider, this is a posthumous record from legendary rapper DMX, who tragically passed away in April, and less than a few months later we have an entire full-length LP, which is surprising, but also in some ways not. DMX has been an active recording artist for years. He most likely has tons of stuff in the vault, but most importantly, he was a legend in his time. Sure, while his shine in his life may have been dampened by his vices, records like It's Dark and Hell is Hot are still game-changing classics. No one around that time had that bark and that bite, while also showing so much introspection, darkness, and lyrical focus in their music too. I point all this out to say X had immense respect from his peers, fellow artists who made sure this project came together quickly. Swizby, Arab Music, Nas, Lil Wayne, Jay-Z, Kanye West are just a handful of the big names affiliated with this project, many of whom came through with clutch beats and features. But as happy as I am to see this record drop while people are still celebrating X's memory, in pockets it does feel kind of rushed. But Exodus can bring it where it counts. Friends Till the End, The Lox, and X are back together on the opening track, which just sounds like hip-hop history personified, especially on a spacey, hard-hitting, modern-era Swizby. Whole thing feels like a dramatic new take on an old, grimy classic. There is then more Swizz sanity from the pumping beats and siren hits on bath salts. Jay-Z and Nas don't really let up on their features from this track either. Then X comes through sounding absolutely manic on the back end, bars about popping people like pimples. The more he raps, the more he embraces this out-of-control energy that affects his flow, kind of changing it into a rant. Then Lil Wayne is kind of the perfect pick for the club-friendly track Dogs Out. There's a beat to it, but it's also eerie enough to be a good foundation for X's uncompromising grit. Though I will say the Swizz hook on this track is a tad bit awkward, and after X's verse, the song sort of drags on instrumentally, almost like Swizz and Arab didn't really know how to end it. So we're a few tracks in, and while up to now Exodus isn't a perfect record, it's about as good as you could hope for from a posthumous album that came together so quickly. But after this point, all bets are kind of off. We get a slightly unenthusiastic and sloppy feature from Moneybag Yo on Money Money Money, and coming together with a project like this, I get the temptation to create some sort of bridge between the old school and the new school, but he could not sound more out of place on this project. I couldn't think of anyone whose energy level is so completely different from X's, especially on the hook as X is just seething through money, 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 bitches, bitches, bitches. Simple, brutal, it's classic X. Then the track Hold Me Down featuring Alicia Keys is an attempt at a spacey anthemic number, but unfortunately the mix on this one is totally whacked between all of the encompassing reverb, piano, and bright synthesizers. Again, unfortunate, especially considering that X is dropping some really personal and introspective lyrical content here. The following track features a crossover between DMX and U2's Bono, which I suppose isn't too out there to see the potential in. I mean, DMX is a man who, in his heyday, collaborated with Marilyn Manson. But the clubby beat and plucky lead melodies on this track don't quite work with the acoustic guitars and Bono's soaring lead vocals. It feels less like a cohesive singular song and more like I'm hearing a mashup of two unfinished tracks. Once again, I left this track feeling intrigued by X on the lyrical front, but everything else surrounding that didn't quite work. Following this, we have Hood Blues with the Griselda Boys, which is honestly a marriage that makes way more sense. Really a match made in heaven if you were going to pick anyone from the new school to be involved in this LP. Conway, Westside, and Benny do not disappoint either, especially with standouts like, you throw in shots, you better be precise, if I squeeze it twice, that's me being polite. And once again, on this track, X sounds absolutely menacing on the back end. We then get Take Control with Snoop Dogg, who I am happy to see on this LP, especially considering X's versus battle with Snoop was one of his last big moments in the spotlight. But yeah, this track overall is an attempt at kind of a sexy number, but it has little to no finesse, and it's somewhat of an awkward listen for it. I know in his time X was a versatile artist, and maybe on a project like this you want to show a little bit of everything, but for me a song like Walking in the Rain is so much more appropriate for a record that's effectively a send-off, as this is easily one of the most moving moments on the LP lyrically, and certainly serves as a reminder of how insightful X's hardships had made him over the years. Then the following Letter to My Son is the absolutely devastating moment that I anticipated it would be toward the very end of this record. Hearing X rap in the way that he does, even if it is for a short time, to his son, and kind of dealing with his vices, his demons, and the hardships he had gone through as a result of those, and obviously people related to him as a result of that, is an immense moment, as are the more personal and prayer-centric clips of audio on the back end of the project too. But with all that being said though, I have to say this project, unfortunately, is not anywhere near being one of X's best. And you know what, that really has so little to do with his talents, his abilities, how unique he was as an artist, and more to do again with just this thing feeling kind of rushed out a bit. Honestly, I think with more careful crafting of the beats and the feature list, as well as curation from whatever we had left over of X's verses, we could have gotten a project that would have been spinnable for years to come, but instead we got something so much more lopsided instead. Feeling a strong 5 to a light 6 on this one. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know in the comments. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the bell. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, DMX, forever.